Hello, I'm Annette Oppenlander, the author of the Escape from the Past trilogy, and today I'm going to read to you from Book 3, Escape from the Past at Witch's End, which is not yet published. It will be published later this fall, probably in early winter, and I thought I would give you a bit of a preview in reading from Chapter 1. Max, in this third book, is returning to the Middle Ages of Germany, and in this case it is the year 1473, and everything that he knew to be true in 1471 in Book 1 is no longer true. So enjoy. Chapter 1. I was walking home from school when my cell phone buzzed. Text from unknown. I'd been worried about my safety and changed phones. Not even my best friend Jimmy Stuhler knew my number. Actually, other than driving to school together, Jimmy and I hadn't hung out for months. He'd tried a few times, but after he returned from all his fancy trips, but I'd blown him off. He acted all mad and hurt, but who knew what was real and if that was his father talking? Jimmy's dad, Dr. Stuhler, is a certified madman. You about ready? Fall break starts tomorrow. Who's this? Ready for what? I answered. Some jerk had the wrong number. Emma, need to see you. I rolled my eyes. Stupid idiot of a girl. Why didn't she leave me alone? I hadn't talked to her since the day Emma's dad, Carl, and I had made it out of his tech, Dr. Stuhler's evil gaming company. I stuck the phone back in my pocket. I wasn't going to see anybody related to the game. My insides churned as the memories of summer returned, barely making it out of New Mexico alive, only to be pushed around by Stuhler. As I unlocked the front door of the cottage I share with my mom, a shadow rushed up to me. Why aren't you answering? Emma's red hair glowed like the setting sun. The fact you're already waiting here tells me you really didn't want an answer. Ha! I stepped inside, contemplating shutting the door in her face. Don't be a douche. She'd only keep pestering, and I was sort of curious. Coming in? She marched past me to the living room and plopped on the couch. I followed slowly, just to show I wasn't going to do her bidding. How could a girl be so annoying and so hot at the same time? If anything, she'd gotten cuter. I never thought I'd go for freckles, but the way they sprinkled across her face, Hello, you listening? What? I sagged into the single chair, the coffee table as a safety zone between us. I said it's time you finished the game. Dad didn't want to bother you yet, but I think you're ready. I told you I'm not playing again. Emma looked like she was going to pole vault across the table to wring my neck. Apparently she thought better of it and leaned forward instead. If you weren't playing anymore, my father would be dead. This time travel thing was screwy. You could go back to any point in the past, but return to the same exact second you left. If you returned. Carl had played long ago, even before my first game. He'd barely made it back alive, and supposedly I'd been the one to rescue him. I can't handle it right now. How long are you going to wait? I shrugged. Till I'm ready, I wanted to say. Assessing the angry squint on Emma's face, I said nothing. Emma pursed her lips. You know he saved your life. He would have rotted in Schwarzberg's dungeon had it not been for my dad. What are you saying? I'm saying my father got a guy to spring you from the dungeon. No way. No? Emma jumped up. I'm calling my dad right now. Why? Secretly, I was trying to remember who I'd told about the escape from Schwarzberg's cell in the first game. She was obviously trying to lay a guilt trip on me. It wasn't going to work. Dad, yay! I'm with Max. Tell him what you told me about helping him escape. Emma listened to the phone. Obviously, Carl wasn't too happy about her being here. Good. Maybe he'd refuse to speak to me. No such luck. She handed over the phone. Hi, Carl. How are you, Max? Okay. Em wants me to tell you about the escape. Carl hesitated. It was obvious he didn't want to talk about it. How did you know? I mean, my time at Rosterberg. I was staying in Mart, the little village nearby. Word got around that a strange character had been caught. I suspected it was somebody from the game because I'd seen you once before. When? Carl was hallucinating. In Hanstein's forest. I'd been on the run. They cut off my middle finger. You were watching from the bushes. You wore that t-shirt with nerds printed on it. In the recesses of my mind, the scene from my first game returned. Landing in the woods, my panic at being lost, Barrow flinging pine cones at my head, my first night at Barrow's hut. And when Schwarzberg accused you of being Werner von Hanstein's spy, I knew I had to get you out. The line went quiet for a moment as my mind took me back to the darkest time in my life. I had pushed the memory of Duke Schwarzberg's dungeon away, the horrific place no human should endure, feeling like a madman as I grew weaker and weaker. It was the one time I'd wanted to die. I found a peasant farmer who'd been wronged by Schwarzberg. He knew the area and agreed to help you escape. He took you to Hanstein. You know the rest. I blindly stared out the French doors into the garden. I'd always wondered who had saved me and why. Later I stopped caring, just being glad to have escaped the game. I owe you one, I said quietly. Carl let out a rattled sigh. I know you don't want to play again. I don't blame you. But I wouldn't be talking to you right now had you not saved me. I'm fine if we wait. I've got to think about it. Tell Em to leave you alone. You call me when you're ready. I handed the phone to Emma and slumped back into the chair. He says you should leave. To my surprise, Emma nodded and headed for the door. That night I lay awake. It was clear I owed Carl. A year and a half ago, I had convinced Jimmy to let me borrow his father's new computer game. I hadn't known Stuhler set me up, using me as a test player. Of course, I was full of myself and tried the advanced version, only to land in the Middle Ages. Not a made-up world, no, the real thing. I'd time-traveled more than 500 years into the past. Impossible, you say? That's what I thought until I landed at Castle Hanstein and met Lord Werner and my friend Barrow, the pig herder, until I fell in love with Juliana. Truthfully, I wasn't so worried about returning to Hanstein. I had friends there, knew my way around. The unsettling part was that the game could send you anywhere. I tried to get to Hanstein in the second game and ended up in 1881 New Mexico. What if I landed in Normandy during World War II, or ended up in the American Civil War? Anything was possible. I also wanted to destroy Stuhler's game, though I had no clue how to go about it. If I played again, he'd find out, which would draw new attention to me. For the last 2 months, I'd managed to forget the uneasy feeling I'd had when I escaped from New Mexico, only to be forced into Stuhler's office. At first, I'd looked over my shoulder all the time, expecting the man to abduct me again. I'd slept fitfully, having nightmares about my computer. It had always been my favorite possession, but after discovering the game embedded on it, I hadn't felt safe. I even contemplated getting rid of the thing. I turned on my back and stared at the ceiling. The house was silent, but not silent enough to calm my jittering nerves. Playing the game entailed a million risks. I was out of my league, alone, one nerd against all of history, against Stuhler's madness. I needed help, and there was only one guy capable of providing it. That concludes Chapter 1 of Escape from the Past at Witch's End. I hope you enjoyed this little preview of the book that's coming out in late fall. In the meantime, check out my website, AnnetteOppenlander.com, and send me an email or use the contact form to get in touch, or look me up on Facebook. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you.